Welcome back to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Shakras, and in today's video I have an instrument that's a bit unlike anything else I've ever reviewed on the channel. There's one other instrument kind of similar, but for the most part this is in a field all by itself. This is the Casio Tone CT-S200, and it comes in red. There's a couple of other colors it comes in, but I like the red, so I bought the red one. Now, to understand why I'm even here reviewing this instrument, you kind of have to understand the roots of my channel, and to understand where I even began reviewing instruments, let's go back a few years. Several years ago, I began a series titled In Search of the World's Greatest Pianos, where I tried to find the optimal piano for me for my recording studio. And in this series, I reviewed concert grands from all across the world that I was able to find here in the United States, pianos from Germany and Italy and Austria and America as well. And many of these pianos cost as much as a house did. You had pianos that were $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. And people were like, this is great, but I want something that common people can afford. So I began to review instruments that were a little bit more affordable. Pianos ranging anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000 or $50,000. And people were like, this is great, but I want something cheaper. So I began to dive into the world of digital pianos, and I started to review the flagship stage pianos from the likes of Yamaha and Kawai, Roland, and others. People were like, this is great, but I want things cheaper. So then I began to review instruments in the mid-tier price class, like the Yamaha P515 and the ES8 and the Korg SV2, and people were like, this is great, but I want things cheaper. So that's why I have reviews on my channel of the P125 and the Kawai ES110 and the Roland FP30 it is. And people were like, this is great, but I want things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. I reviewed the Williams Legato 3, which is a terrible keyboard, for $250, and people were like, I want things cheaper. So that's why I'm here with the Casio Tone CT-S200RD, which is a $100 digital keyboard. It's not actually labeled a digital piano, it's called a digital keyboard, and obviously for $100 our expectations can be very low. But why am I here reviewing an instrument that costs only $100? Well, first of all, I'm kind of curious as to what $100 can even buy you in the world of keyboard instruments, but like I said in the beginning of this video, I've had lots of requests to review cheaper and cheaper and cheaper instruments. Many people don't want to spend $500 or $1,500 on their first digital piano. They don't know if they or their child is going to like it. So what if they just want to spend $100 and give what is basically a fancy toy to their kid to see if their kid likes it and see if it's worth getting a more expensive instrument? That's where something like the Casio Tone CT-S200 would come into play. It's a cheap instrument that's not very expensive, but it does have a lot of features, and honestly it looks pretty cool. I like the way it looks, just that alone. And so it might make a good instrument for a young child, someone who's 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that age range. This might make a good instrument for them. So if you have a if you have a kid and you're looking for an entry-level digital keyboard to get them, this maybe would be a good option. So that's what we're going to explore in today's video. We're going to check out the positives and the negatives of this instrument. Obviously, I'm not going to hold it up to the standards that I would a Kawai MP11 SE. That's not what this is trying to be. It's basically a fancy toy for $100, and that's what I'm going to be looking at it as. I'm not going to look at it as this is an instrument for professionals like the PXS 3000 was. That was an instrument marketed towards professionals that had major design flaws. Obviously, this will have a number of downfalls too, and professional musicians would just obviously ignore this. So we're not going to look at this from an angle of could a professional pianist use this. We're going to look at this as an angle of could a child use this. So let's get this out of the box and check it out. So the Casio Tone CT-S200 is out of the box and ready to be played. And for $100, I'm frankly rather impressed. Now, again, this isn't a professional instrument. I said this already, and I'll say it again. It's not a professional level instrument. A person who does gigs on the regular and even simply their neighborhood wouldn't really need anything like this. It doesn't have the features of a professional quality instrument. Never mind someone who does professional gigs for a professional living. They wouldn't have a use for this. So I'm not going to be holding this up to the standards of even something like a Yamaha P125, which does have professional quality features. This is simply something for someone of really any age. I said children at the beginning, but honestly it would work for people of any age who simply want to dabble in the world of piano and see, is this something that I might pursue with more seriousness later? Someone who is like that and isn't sure they want to dive into the world of pianos, doesn't want to buy a $500 instrument. They want something very cheap. And this would be, in my opinion, a decent starter for someone who's never touched the piano in their life. A very, very cheap starter. The things it would be good for is learning the names of the notes and learning how to play chords and learning how to play scales. And I'll dive more into this later, but you're not really going to be able to play, like classical technique on it. You're not going to learn how to play Beethoven to any serious degree on this instrument, for example. But you will learn the name of the notes, how to play chords, how to play scales, and also just how to have fun with this instrument, because I think this is honestly a pretty fun thing. So before I play it, let me tell you guys about some of the things it comes with, some of the things it doesn't come with, and just general things about it. First of all, it came with a power supply, which should seem self-explanatory, but from some of the videos I'd seen online about this, it didn't seem like it would come with a power supply. You can run it on 6 AA batteries, which I think is great, but mine actually came with a power supply, which I think is even better. The batteries, though, are a really great touch because you can take it with you anywhere and go play on the beach or at your friend's house without needing to bring the power cable, which I think is a great idea. It's also probably one of the most portable keyboards I've reviewed so far. It even has a built-in carrying handle right here, so you can just pick it up and take it with you anywhere. It's also very light and very compact, which is great, but of course that compactness does have some deficits, as well as a low price point. We'll talk more about the action in a little bit here. But I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about how I'm recording this, because I'm kind of recording it in an odd way. First of all, there is no like proper left-right line outputs, which on a professional level instrument I would bash this for. Again, this is not a professional level instrument. Someone who's buying a $100 digital instrument isn't looking for the highest quality sound. So the fact that it only has a headphone jack, it's not really a problem for $100. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a little splitter that one side is going to my amplifier and the other side is going to an audio interface. So I'm able to hear it through my Roland KC350 amplifier and the direct line signal, which is being recorded. It comes with, of all things, a music desk, and it's actually a pretty nice music desk, and I also like the way it works. It simply just drops in place there. How simple can you get? The build quality of it, obviously it is plastic. You kind of got these weird exposed little brace struts on the back, but the build quality is decent. It's got a little bit of flex to it, but it feels quality. I could throw it across the room and I think it would be totally fine. The durability of it seems fine, and I like the way it just kind of sits there. It's really cool. I like that. So you've got a little cute music desk, and I think with the music desk on it, it just looks so adorable. I think it looks really, really cute. So the aesthetic of it is nice too. But something interesting that it doesn't come with is a damper pedal of any sort. It doesn't come with any kind of a foot switch or a little pedal unit, none of that. So I was kind of curious about that. So I decided to take a few different pedals that I had laying around and plug them into it and see what happened. This is a question I get a lot. A lot of people ask, can I use this pedal with this other brand instrument? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, usually no. So what I did was I took the pedal from the infamous Casio PXS3000 that I still have laying around, and I plugged that into here. And that pedal works beautifully for this instrument. Then I took a Roland pedal, their DP2, which is my favorite foot switch of that type, the little square ones. That Roland DP2 is pretty good of those types. I plugged that into here, and it works backwards. The polarity is switched. So when you're not touching the pedal, you get sustain. When you push the pedal down, it is short. I also tried a Yamaha pedal. It does the same thing. So Casio pedals are probably the way to go. For about $13 online, you can buy these little pedal units that say they work both with Casio and with Yamaha. I'm assuming they must have a polarity switch on them. Otherwise, they'll only work with one brand or the other. But they're only about 13 bucks. So, definitely do your research and see whether or not they do have a polarity switch. But for 13 bucks, it's not that bad. So that, I think, is everything I wanted to discuss as far as the peripherals go and what it comes with and what it doesn't. I'm actually impressed that it comes with a high-quality music desk. I think, once again, that's just really fantastic. Now, the speakers that it comes with, they do leave a little bit to be desired, I'm not going to lie, but at the same time, it is $100. It's only $100, and the fact that you can get a digital piano that even works at all for $100 is almost kind of a miracle, in my opinion. All these moving parts and all the little technology for $100. I don't know. It's pretty cool. So obviously the internal speakers, if you played it out on the street corner, you're not going to be able to hear it. It's not going to be a good busking instrument. It does look cute though. For practicing at home, for playing at home, it's going to be adequate. It's definitely, you're going to be able to hear it. You're going to be able to respond with the instrument and hear what it's what you're playing. So that's not going to be an issue. But again, in louder environments, you're not going to be able to hear this thing at all. So that is something to watch out for. But for the average home environment, it should be fine. Speaking of noise, I want to talk about the action as well as the way it plays. Now, the CT-200 does not do dynamics. You can get other models. I believe for about $30 more, you can get a model that does do dynamics, and I thought about getting that one, but that particular model only has 2 levels of dynamics, and I was like, that's not even really worth it for $30. I'd rather just get the one that doesn't do dynamics and see how bad it is. So that's what I did. I bought the CT-S200. No dynamics, but the action is playable. It's actually quite playable. I thought it would be atrocious. I really thought it would be terrible, like the Williams Legato 3 was. It's actually respectable. For $100, I think it's decent. The action is, of course, incredibly light. It feels kind of like an organ or a synth action, and probably the biggest issue I have with it for the $100 price point is the amount of noise it makes. It's kind of rattly and kind of loud, and when you're only using the internal speakers, you definitely can hear that. But again, it's $100. I kind of have to cut it some slack there. So I did just want to point that out. That's probably my biggest physical irk with this keyboard is the amount of noise that comes with the action. But again, it's $100. I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video, I can tell. Alright, so the way the actual action responds and the way it feels, like I said earlier, you're not going to really be able to do any technical classical music. If I try to play something technically classical, it's not going to sound very good, and it's going to make this thing look very bad. Let me play the little opening of Clair de Lune, and you'll see what I mean. You know, so for learning how to play dynamics, for learning how to play expressionly with expression, the CT-S200 is going to fail. However, for a first-time musician who's never seen a piano, learning the names of the notes, learning how to play chords, how to play scales, how the fingering for those works, basic level things like that are going to work fine on this instrument. A lot of things I see people do is put stickers on the keys of their piano to know what the names are. So you'll have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they'll put little stickers on them, and also sometimes sharps and flats on the black keys. Those stickers are really hard to get off, and people who do this to a real piano, I bought a keyboard once, I can't remember which one it was, but I bought a used keyboard once, and I think I made videos on it, and someone had, it was my Rhodes, my Stage Rhodes, that was it. Someone had little stickers on it, on the keys, and those were a pain to get off. They were terrible, and I think there's still residue on that instrument from those stickers. This instrument, you don't have to worry about, what happens 2 years from now when I want to take those stickers off. I don't need them anymore. It doesn't matter. Just put them on. Who cares? It's a $100 keyboard. So for learning the names of the notes and that kind of stuff, I think this instrument would be fine. For practicing chords and chord progressions and scales, it would be fine. Have a listen to a little, like a thing I used to practice on when I used to do jazz a lot. Right, so even for more advanced chords like that, those are 7th chords in the G major scale going up and down. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, and this handles it fine. So for basic, rudimentary stuff like that, you're going to be absolutely fine. Learning the names of the notes, perfectly fine. It's adequate. You have all the notes you need. They're all a little smaller than your normal keys, but they should be fine. But again, for your normal piano technique, it's not going to be very good. And as you can tell, the default piano sound on here is, well, what can I say? It sounds like a $100 piano, that's for sure. It doesn't sound very good. For doing those chords, it sounds okay, but if you try to play real music on it, it doesn't really sound that great. However, there's a few other sounds in here that I think are actually kind of fun to listen to. One of those is the electric piano. Again, there's no dynamics. If I could make some of the notes more punchy, it would sound even better. But the electric piano obviously sounds fake and cheesy, but it's also kind of fun to listen to. It doesn't hurt your ears. It sounds kind of fun. Right, so that was a little imitation of a Fender Rhodes type sound. I don't know, it's kind of fun to listen to. Part of me kind of likes it. Obviously it's cheesy and kind of terrible, but also kind of fun. There's also the 60s electric piano, so a Wurlitzer-ish sound. That one's kind of fun too. In regards to the action, once again, on my infamous videos about the Casio PXS3000, the black keys being lighter than the white keys, a lot of people asked, is this issue prevalent on other Casio keyboards? My answer to that is, I'm not sure, but it's not prevalent on here. The action in this is not, obviously, a weighted key bed. You just have, like, these little basic hollow, I believe, hollow plastic keys that just have springs underneath of them, and there are no weight differences that I can tell between the white keys and the black keys, so that is good. As far as one thing you have to think about when looking at cheap instruments is, will any bad habits be formed? And if a beginner decided to learn on this instrument, would there be any bad habits that would be formed? I can't think of any. It is a very light action, so there will be a learning curve going into the piano, a real piano, or even a higher end digital piano, and learning how dynamics work and how to interact with the keyboard. Learning the names of the notes and all that stuff is fine on here. But as far as the technique goes, there might be a bit of a learning curve still going to a real piano. But I can't think of any bad habits that would be formed. And if anything, this might actually help you because the keys are incredibly sensitive. It takes no effort at all to accidentally trigger a key. And you'll notice a lot of the times when I'm playing this, there will be accidental key triggers. Because on a real piano, it doesn't matter if your pinky brushes up against another key, it's not going to probably be played. On this, it's very difficult sometimes to not have accidental key triggers. When you're playing fast, sometimes other notes will get played on accident just because your finger brushed up against those. So if you practiced a lot on an instrument like this, you might be taking extra care to not do that, which might be a good thing to carry on into a real piano. If that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense with that. But basically, you'd be extra careful playing this to not play wrong notes, and that's a good habit to make on a real piano too. So maybe it might help form good habits. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm not a beginning pianist, so I can't really give you guys a true look into that type of world, but I can guess and I can hypothesize, and that's my hypothesis. Another sound that's actually decent on here is the clavinet sounds. Again, they're cheesy, but they're kind of fun to listen to, and there's actually 3 variants of them. Actually, I think there's 4, but there's 3 pretty good ones in here. Cheesy, but fun to listen to. So there's 400 different sounds in this instrument, which I think is honestly kind of wild. They're not the highest quality sounds. I don't really need to harp on that too much. You can tell that. But some of them are fun to listen to, like the vibraphone. It even has a bit of tremolo in there, like a real vibraphone would. Doesn't sound terrible. It's not offensive. There's also a marimba sound, kind of fun. And there's a bunch more too. There's celestas, glockenspiels, a category of instruments I didn't think would sound good on here, but actually are pretty respectable, are drawbar organs, and there's a massive variety of them. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 13 different drawbar style organs. And most of them sound decent. 2 of my favorites are the 2 jazz organs. They sound pretty nice. I might have used the wrong sounds there. Those weren't quite the ones I was thinking of. But still, the first one especially wasn't too terrible. Let's have a listen to a couple more of the other organ sounds. I don't know, I just think they're kind of decent. Few different variations of organs in there, and some of them are genuinely good. That's impressive. Another thing that's actually impressive that I didn't know about this until just now is it has seamless sound switching, or at least it sure seemed like it to me in the organ sounds. This is something that even expensive instruments sometimes don't have. For example, one that comes to mind, and one that I forgot to mention in that video, so stupid of me, is the Crumar 7 doesn't have seamless sound switching. It's a $2,000 instrument, and when you play a note on one sound, hold the pedal down, and push the next sound, the sound cuts out. This one doesn't seem to do that. Let me play a little bit more, and I'll see if I'm right on that or not, but let me just see if it does or in fact have seamless sound switching. In $100 instrument, it has seamless sound switching. That is just unbelievable to me. I didn't even realize that before. It does. That is incredible. Okay, another one here that's kind of worthy of note. I'm not going to go through every sound, but I love sounds, so I'm going to go through a few more of these. The reed organ sound. That reed organ sound is kind of cheesy, but just remember what it sounds like, because we'll come back to another reed organ sound that I think will blow that one out of the water. There's from harmonicas. The guitars, for some reason, are louder than all the other sounds. Guitars, of all things, don't know why. It could be something to do with the internal speakers don't like guitar sounds, so they boosted them. Bass, by the way, bass sounds do not come through here at all. They sound like nothing because there's no bass response here at all. Would you expect that for $100? Of course not, but that's just something to keep in mind. Here's a couple of jazz guitars. These might have been the ones I was thinking of when I said jazz organ. I might have been thinking of the sounds of these, but these also sound pretty nice. For $100, you get all these sounds. I don't know, it's pretty fun. You got a bunch of different guitars. You got some basses. You got some violins, some cellos, all sorts of stuff here. Let's skip through to a couple more of my favorite ones. We have the trumpet. I like the trumpet sound. It's a little bit cheesy, but it's kind of fun. So I like that one as well. It's fun. What else do we have here? We've got so many sounds, so many sounds. The piccolo, surprisingly decent of all things. Like, that's genuinely pretty, and there's not even any dynamics to listen to there, so that's pretty cool. There's a few other good ones in here. Let me skip through here. We've got a bunch of synth pads and synth sounds. So many synth sounds. It's really wild. There's a bunch of interesting ethnic instruments, too. You've got sitars and tanpuras and harmoniums and santurs and some, like, Chinese Asian instruments, which is really got kodos, which is Japanese. All sorts of different stuff in here. The sitars are kind of fun. Take a listen. I don't know. I like that. I think that's cool. Now, here is a Indian harmonium. It's in the Indian category. I believe it's meant to emulate one of those small Indian hand-powered reed organs. Remember the reed organ sound I showed you before? Now listen to this one. That sounds a lot better in my opinion. That is crazy authentic. And then there's even another one that has a deeper stop pulled out, and it sounds even cooler. I don't know about you, but I think that sounds really neat. I love reed organs and reed instruments and all that kind of stuff. So then you've just got so many sounds. I can't possibly go through them all, and this video is already getting a little bit long. But that has been kind of a quick little look at the Casio CT-S200. Let me go back to our default piano sound here, and just so it's sitting there on that sound. You also have a built-in metronome, which is really cool. I don't know how many beginning pianists would actually decide on their own, especially young children, would decide on their own to use a metronome. But the fact that it's here is great. For $100, you get a metronome too. It's a little quiet. Can we turn the volume up? There we go. Let's get the volume up on that. So you got a built-in metronome. You can change the beat of it. Let me go up here and do that. Yep, beat 5 now per measure. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. You can do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How many? You can also turn the beat off as well. Really great attention to detail. The metronome is very nice. I think it's a little bit quiet, honestly. I was turning up the volume. Oh, let me see here. That's changing the beat. I think I can change the volume of the metronome individually as well. But that's really great that the metronome is here in $100 keyboard. That's great. There's also rhythms as well. You can hit the function button too and go through some menus. You can transpose it. You can change the reverb. You can change what the pedal even does. It's defaults to sustain, but you can change it to toggling on and off the rhythms and stuff like that. Turn on and off intro and ending. You can change the chord mode. Rhythm volume. Here it is. Song volume, dance volume, all this stuff. You can change the tuning. You can actually, believe it or not, I can't believe the $100 keyboard has this. You can put your keyboard, actually, let me go the other way, because 432 hertz is what it's all about, am I right? Let's put it here at 432. So you can buy a $100 keyboard and then play a 432. The fact that a $100 keyboard does that is just absolutely insane. I didn't know that it did that. I just now saw that, and I am very impressed. Let me put that back at A440. There we go. So you got a few different settings in there you can change to, and for $100, I'm honestly impressed. For $100, if someone's looking for the very basic, the bare bones digital piano to just dabble their toes in the water of the world of piano and not get too serious into it, it's super easy to back out if you decide, I don't like the piano. You only spent $100. You didn't spend $500. You didn't spend $1,500 on a P515. You only spent $100 on this cute little Casio tone. And I honestly am a fan. I actually like it for what it is. Some of you guys may be surprised that I like it, but I do. And this video was not sponsored by Casio, by the way. I spent my own $100 on this instrument and actually went out and bought it myself. Some people on the internet like to say that I do honest reviews, and then in the same sentence say, Casio sent me an instrument, or so-and-so sent me an instrument, and in my opinion, that's not an honest review. If someone sends you a thing, probably chances are you're gonna be a little nicer to it than if you bought it with your own money. I bought this with my own money, and I'd say I'm being quite nice to it. So it's an honest review. I honestly think for $100, you're actually getting a decent thing. Now, before I leave, I did want to touch on one thing that some of you guys may be confused about, and that question would be, why were you so mean to the Williams Legato 3 for $250, and you're so nice to this for $100? Well, first of all, there's a $150 price discrepancy there. The other thing is that Williams markets their instruments and touts them as being professional level, and they do have some professional quality features that I like. On the Williams Legato 3, pushing the damper pedal toggled on and off the Leslie Sim on the Hammond organs. That's a nice touch. It also had direct line outs, also a nice touch. But the actual sounds, the dynamic control was nowhere near professional level, and that is true on all of their instruments, even their highest class ones. Every time I go into the big major music chain here in the United States. They have the Williams, what's it called, the Grand Symphony up on display. That's like $1,000. I have never seen one in perfect working condition, and it's touted as a professional level instrument. So that's why I was not as positive towards the Williams Legato 3 as I am this Casio. I didn't look at Casio's website for this instrument, but I don't think you'd find anywhere that they said this is a professional level instrument. I don't think that they would say that on their website, and it didn't say it on the box anywhere. They know what it is. It's a toy. It's a basic level digital piano. It's as simple as you can get. And for $100, I think it's great for the price. Also, I mean, it's cute. Look at it. It's cute. It's adorable. It's round. It's got a little carrying handle, which I think is so great. And the music desk is good. I haven't tried it with music, but it's got a little lip on the front, and it's got a texture to it. So I don't think you'd have any problems with it. I like the Casio tone. I think it's cool. For what it is, I think it's great. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you might want to go check out my channel. This isn't the type of instrument that I normally review. If there's enough interest for this, maybe I'll look at other cheap entry-level digital pianos, but I probably won't unless they're particularly special or brand new. This is a brand new instrument, but it wasn't released just now. If somebody releases a brand new instrument of this price point, maybe to go check it out, but you guys know what I mean. Hopefully you did enjoy this video, and if you did, you might want to go check out my channel. I've got lots of other videos on, like I said at the beginning, high-class $300,000 pianos, or more normal things that most people can afford and have access to. So I've got videos on all sorts of different things, so definitely go check out my channel if you're new here. If you did enjoy this video, you might want to think about subscribing, and if you do that, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.